Annyeong. Hello, I'm the Deck Fae. Welcome back to Confessions of a First Time Dungeon Master. As always, if you missed the last session, I'll put a link for it up in the corner and you can go check it out, get caught up, and then find out what happened next. This is now session 24, so without further ado, let's begin. So, session 24, they have now decided to embark on their journey to Elith Malar. They opted to not take horses, so they're going to travel just by foot since it has been hinted that it's pretty dangerous. So they set off, and I've always thought that I do a bad job with travel because I don't know, I haven't really been able to come up with like actual encounters or like things to happen on the road because I haven't terribly fleshed out like how like the roads are and like how kind of dangerous or populated that the spaces kind of in between the different sections of the world are. But I think I did a better job this time. So first day of travel, I kind of fast-tracked it a bit. Since they are traveling on a road, it's not particularly dangerous. There aren't like that many hazards also this close to the city. So they make camp, take watch. Nothing really happens. I also think I did a better job of kind of explaining the surroundings and kind of giving a bit more narrative as to like why it's quiet or like why they don't really encounter anything, or like just like giving a description of like the area around them. And then so second day of travel then is where things get a little bit more interesting because now they're further from the city on the road. The roads here are a bit more dangerous. Kind of out here in the grasslands and the hills, there are potential creatures. Like in their research, they did go to the archives to kind of look up a map of like this area and kind of find out what hazards or encounters this region might have. They did find out that there are like burrowing creatures that might occasionally pop up and attack travelers. There are also some hippogriff nesting grounds around, and it's best to avoid them, especially during mating season. And that there have been some reports of bandits attacking merchants and travelers along this road recently. So with that, they take their second day of travel and then make camp. They decide to make camp kind of near the road. And this road is more traveled than like the previous paths they've gone, which have been kind of through the wilderness. So they occasionally do meet like a couple travelers or merchants going back and forth. But they make camp, make some perception checks. During the second watch, they keep the same watch order, which is nice, kind of simple. So Basil and Ivar, 71 up first, then Umric, then Valkyrie / Tyrell. We were down a player this time. Tyrell wasn't able to join, but I made the rules for him. So on the second watch, Umric's watch, he hears a bit of like a rustle down like at like a clump of trees that's south to them, and then kind of wakes up Tyrell and goes to investigate. And as he does that, they are ambushed. So like a couple crossbow bolts kind of streak out of the dark at him, and a couple of them hit, and then 3 dire wolves kind of surrounding them rush and attack the sleeping party members. So they get a round of surprise, and then everyone rolls initiative, and there we go. So I had 2 bandit captains, 4 kind of regular bandits, like not super strong, but can still pose somewhat of a threat, and then 3 direwolves. So the party wakes up, we roll into combat. Valkyrie turns into a giant snake to deal with one of the wolves, and then they start kind of trading blows. Umric, he casts Spirit Guardians, and then also kind of starts attacking with Spiritual Weapon and his Warhammer, etc. Tyrell is with the triple stab. Ivar Fire mostly attacked with his longsword. A couple of the hits against him, he's lucky to kind of dodge out of the way or get a different roll. Worked once because but then the second time I think his lucky actually rolled an 18, which is higher, so he still got hit anyway. And then Basil, Basil mostly kind of was helping to heal because with the initial round of surprise, things were a little bit dicey for some of the characters. I think Umar got down to like pretty low actually. I didn't expect it to be that low. And then Valkyrie got, or not Valkyrie, she's a druid, so she has like infinite hit points. Tyrell got down to like 14. Been trying to figure out a way to kind of get combat balanced so that it's an equal amount of danger for everyone. But druids of the moon, those are difficult because they get like that extra HP buff from like turning into a giant constrictor snake. But figure something out one of these days. Maybe like surprise round before she can transform or something. I don't know. Because there's no way to drop beast form. But anyways, so after some time, I didn't mean this to be like a particularly difficult encounter. It was, I was rolling pretty well, so it did a bit more damage than I was expecting because the bandits are they're from a city down south near the coast. The coast meaning like the bay map, meaning the bay of the open maw. They're a city down the coastline called Bulgar. And they have been having problems like with their normal line of work, like going out to sea and fishing and trading, because there's been something kind of in the bay that has been attacking their ships and preventing them from leaving. So with that, they've kind of turned to raiding. Didn't expect to run into like a strong adventuring party like this. And so eventually they will surrender. So the party kind of kills one of the captains and then a couple of the other bandits and I think one of the direwolves before the remaining captain, his name is, what was his name? The remaining captain, Kartab, he kind of throws down his weapons and orders his men to stop. And then, so given that the fight had progressed so much, I was a little bit worried that my party would kind of just decide to kill them and not listen, which was, I mean, it's entirely possible. They could do it, and then that quest line's gone, and then they'd continue on and face my other encounter. But they decide to listen a little bit begrudgingly, but they do, kind of tie him up, and they exchange some information. Basically, him kind of explaining the situation that's going on in Bulgar, and also warning them that this town, one of the trading outposts ahead, Mainel, has been like taken over by some sort of creatures that have come down from the Shattered Peaks. So after a couple of insight checks to see whether he's being honest, and he is, like this guy is rough looking. He's kind of like a barbarian fighter fellow, but he seems to be pretty level-headed. He says he didn't even want to really go on this raid in the first place, but the other captain, who's dead, Quinnim, wanted to, and so that's why they're there. So after kind of gauging his demeanor and his truthfulness, they decide that maybe they can kind of escort them back to Bulgar, and maybe they'll find a way to deal with the whatever sea monster is going on, and take care of that so that they don't have to keep raiding, and then they can maybe sail to Elith Malar instead of going through the mountain pass, which is dangerous. So danger and quickness versus probably safer on the sea, but it'll take longer. So that's kind of a trade-off. So eventually they kind of come to an understanding, and they start traveling together, or they finish the rest and then start traveling together. They release the bandits and Kartab from their ropes, so they're not restrained anymore, but they do keep the weapons. Smart. And Kartab basically starts to lead them down to Bulgar. So down to Bulgar is about a 2-day journey from where they were, versus like the half-day journey that they had left to Mainel. but again, with Minel under some sort of curious power power change, they decide they don't want to risk that and to go to the city that is probably more civilized and like probably will be more welcoming. So they start traveling down there. So on the first, during the first day of travel, they do some talking, I suppose. They kind of ask what Bolga is like and maybe just like a little bit about who Katab is. And so he kind of explains that the people of Bolga are either outcasts or tribesmen from the Tenkarisian Highlands, which is like right next to Bolga, to the west, who have either been outcasts or have failed their sort of initiation ritual to become a warrior of the tribe. And he explains that like there's different tribes in the Tenkarisian Highlands, but all of them at the age of about like 16, they have to go on a pilgrimage somewhere to fight some sort of monster or beast and bring back proof of their kill. He explains that some of them have to go to the Forest of Rot to do so. Some of them have to go, I think I said up into the Shattered Peaks, and then some of them even make the pilgrimage all the way across South Kalios into the Blood Lakes, where there are lots of monstrosities of Nalea's brood. And he mentions that like he was one of the ones that failed, and he kind of shows them this like large like scar that goes from his like upper arm all the way across his shoulder to like his collarbone. And then he also explains a bit about Bolga. So I've been watching a lot of the show Vikings lately. It's very good. You should go see it. So I've kind of modeled the tribes of the Tenkarisian Highlands and of Bolga around that. So Bolga is kind of like Kattegat, and so they're ruled by an earl, but they've formed different guilds. So they've kind of moved away a bit from like the more wild, less civilized, like tribesmen kind of way of life, and have adapted to become like a trading port. So there's like the Fishermen's Guild, Fishermen Sailors Guild, the Farming Guild, and like also like the Protector Warrior Guild, and they're all ruled by an earl. And so with that kind of chatting throughout the day, they take their rest, camp for the night. During Basil and Ivar's watch, the first watch, Ivar rolls a 23, and I say like with dark kind of approaching, like the moon's out, it's a pretty clear night. You can see up in the sky there's like a shape floating, kind of like drifting above your camp. It's like round and kind of bulbous. It's got like some protrusions around. And at the 23s, like you swear that you can see a person like riding atop it. And this thing is kind of drifting over your camp, heading northward, maybe like 80 feet up in the air. As it passes overhead, something kind of like drips down like beside him, and this like reddish, brownish kind of liquid drops and kind of starts to sizzle and like eats away part of the grass next to him. So without telling anyone except Basil, who is awake, he takes a shot with it and his crossbow. He rolled a 17, and I was purposely kind of like ambiguous as to like what happened to it, because he doesn't have dark vision, so that far away, crossbow has 100-foot range / I think 200 for disadvantage. He doesn't really know whether it hit or not. It just seems the bolt kind of shot forward and disappeared. And then the thing and its rider just continued drifting north and kind of didn't seem to take heed of their camp. So it's a little interesting tidbit of something maybe related to one of their backstories, maybe something to come, but I thought that was like an interesting tidbit, and also makes travel and like night watches a little more interesting, to like give them something that actually happens, but that might not directly affect their party at the moment. So after that, the other two watches go by without much of a hitch. they wake up, Navarre kind of explains to everyone what happened. Kartab is a bit like, why would you choose to shoot at something without telling anybody? And like questions Basil's like odd affinity for like drinking mysterious substances thanks to the purple potion. And they ask if he maybe knows anything about like floating balloons and people riding them that drip acid, to which he very confusedly says no, because he has no idea what this thing is. But then, after a confusing morning, they eventually all pack up and head for the remaining day to Bulga. So they kind of will reach Bulga about evening or so. So they cross the bridge, and here it gets a bit less dangerous because they're closer to the city. There are patrols and like watchtowers stationed to prevent anything kind of like incoming towards Bulgar. And so we kind of left it with them entering the city, getting some weird looks, but with Kartab kind of leading them, they don't come to any harm. And basically, he will lead them to the Earl's place of residence where they will start to do business. And so I ended it there, partly because I wanted to make sure that I really prepped this part. I didn't want to do this like kind of off the top of my head, because before this, I wasn't even sure if they would do it. They might have gone to Minel and dealt with a lot of harpies. So I'm kind of excited. Honestly, both encounters I was really excited for. I think in my head I had prepped the harpy one more, since that was kind of like on their path. That was the one that like didn't take anything extra for them to go to. But now they're doing this, so now I get to prep like the Earl and their hall and kind of like what this business proposition could be, and then I got to do some sea monster stuff, and maybe some interesting other things that can appear underwater, and maybe they'll fight on boats, and it's a lot of new stuff. I've never done an encounter on the sea before. That'll be interesting, but I think it'll be fun, and I'm pretty excited for the next session. I also ended it early just because I didn't want to like continue too much farther without our other party members. So now we can have everyone, and everyone can kind of decide what to do, how to go about it, etc. So that is session 24. I think this one went pretty well. Even though I oddly I feel like I do better when I don't prep as much. But like I think I had like mostly ideas of like what I wanted, and then I don't know, I was able to kind of work out how it went in the moment pretty easily after like was just like mental prep. So that was kind of nice. But yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I hope this turn of events are gonna go on a potential seafaring mission. It will be interesting. And don't forget to like and comment and subscribe for more videos. I put out videos every other day, some D&D related, some gaming videos. I should probably do more of the other stuff, but it's been hard to record. But anyways, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!